Hello world, this is Shruti Pandey, and today I have with me someone very special and a very dear friend from across the continent, Tristan Lombard, who is a genius, I feel, in creating community, and not community, I think communities, because he is there for us as testers. He has created community at Testim. Now he's doing his masters in testing with all of us in Provar. So I think he just keeps on making hopes high and high for all of us. And I really want to thank you, Tristan, for giving me this time and honor for answering my questions.
Oh, it's genuinely a pleasure. And I can say as a recovering social worker that fell into building scalable community programs and test automation, I love everyone. I love my developers, I love my POs, and anyone who's part of the, software delivery lifecycle. I've always had a special place in my heart for my testers in QA. And I don't care who knows it.
Which is why all of us love you back, right? You've been you've been there for us. So can I start my questions?
Oh yeah, let's do it. Let's have some fun, y'all.
Okay, so my first question for you is, how much of community building is actually a part of marketing, sales, tech, etc. in any organization?
No, it's a good question. Yeah, my very first experience building, communities was actually in the nonprofit sector. When I got into tech, it was a very different experience, and I was tasked with relaunching the Sauce Labs community secret sauce. And I learned very early on that community sits at the heart of any business. Customer success is always going to want to increase adoption in larger enterprise organizations. Also, hashtag churn is real, y'all. So everyone's a VIP. Hello. Sales is always going to want to have reference calls. Product is always going to want people to participate in beta programs, and your developers, believe it or not, y'all, they do want that direct feedback, right? So and marketing is always going to want content. So community sits at the heart of your business. And so if you're leading a product-led community, whether it was Sauce Labs, building communities from scratch at Testim or now at Provar, you really want to partner with product first, because that's where 56% of our customers that joined our Testim community forum, they wanted an opportunity to join our Testim product group and have a virtual front row seat when it came to delivering product feedback. So you really want to partner with them. And then you really want to partner with customer success as well, because they're the ones that know the pain points, as well as customer support. Always. You really want to partner with them. You always want to be advocating for the customer community member first. But back to your part about how much of it's marketing or sales, excuse me, I would be foolish, not being in a nonprofit anymore. I would be foolish to say that we do need to provide value. And so if there is a way that I can authentically partner with sales, in terms, I will, but I will never be one to sell. I don't talk numbers. I don't talk anything. I will not do that. You have to, as a community builder, you have to be very clear about that distinction. What's that song? And I won't do that. Marketing is a vehicle, and marketing should really be appreciated, because marketing is the one that's, getting you, the graphic designs for an event that you're doing around, test automation. Marketing is the one helping you with the newsletters. Marketing is the one helping you get the content on the website. So there are pieces of that there, but you as a community builder have to be the advocate for your community members first and foremost. And so you always have to ask the question, for anyone who's thinking about going to this field, people say, oh, well, can we get these, customers to tweet this out? Or can we get these customers to join, this, give us quotes? And I always say, what's in it for them?
Yeah.
Always. What's in it for them? And if there is a way to authentically make it work, where we're putting them first and foremost and centering the community members, yeah, I'm here for it. Always ask yourself, what's in it for them?
Yeah, I want to apologize that I just mentioned two of your communities, because suddenly I got reminded our first conversation, which happened like 2 years back, and you have been doing community since forever. Like you did it for a non-profit, then you were doing secret sauce, and then like you can do this in your dreams, can't you?
It is a labor of love, but honestly, community programs, and I like to define them as community programs because it adds a layer of complexity, right? People think of community, it's been this co-opted thing during COVID. And, I love that people are like listening up and understanding the business function. I'll always, echo those OG community builders like Rosie Sherry, out there who really always kept the people in mind first and foremost. I like to say community programs because it adds a layer of complexity and it diversifies what you're trying to do, whether it's a product group, whether it's a customer champion program that I launched in my previous role and have here too, getting them into conferences, helping them with blogs, Stage Mom first and foremost, or getting a technical forum for engineers, you name it, mentorship programs. It adds more complexity. Community isn't just this magical thing that happens. It takes intention, it takes creativity, it takes hard work, and it takes tireless work around lifting others up and really being ruthless in prioritization. So I like to say that.
Yeah, I can relate to most of this because if you as community builders sit within the marketing framework, I remember my past experiences as solutions engineer and sitting inside the sales framework, and my intent would be the same, right? Like what's in it for the customers. So for people who don't understand and think that it's, a piece of cake for Tristan, it's actually a very, very difficult job because you're sitting in an organization and you're actually working for the people. You are working in the organization, but you have to be assertive, you have to fight for the people, you have to be there for the people, and it's not an easy job. So thank you so much, Tristan, for doing that for all of us.
Oh, yeah, I will just echo one thing to your point. I 100% agree for the next question here is that, having been a stage mom to countless developers and testers, the number one theme, Savannah Goodman, this AMA that I did, it really stuck out to me because she had to create a center of excellence for her org. And I asked her how she was able to help build this from scratch. She told me it's trust, visibility, flexibility. And I 100% agree. That is the TVF framework for influence. So whether you're a tester or a developer, everyone is a leader. Whether you're leading a project and or teams, everyone is a leader. It's influence though. So people need to create their own influence framework that works for them to scale.
There's an influence framework as well. Wow, this is great. This is amazing. So moving on to my second question. What has generally kept you going in building so many communities with your flair?
Well, I would say authentic, pragmatic, and kind leaders like yourself, to be quite candid. I think that, as you get in this field for longer periods of time, you have to have the ability to carry so many people in your heart. And I think that, my background from having, a 60 plus homeless youth caseload back in the Tenderloin of SF, it really taught me a lot about dealing with people in their hardest times and helping, Brene Brown kind of talks about this in her recent book, Atlas of the Heart, story stewardship. How can you help steward someone in their authentic story and not always try and fix things? Because I love to fix things. Testers like to break things sometimes. I like to fix things, but you have to be there to help steward someone in their story. But, as I said in a recent panel, I call it my 3 C's for community. Caffeine, concealer, and Christ. I've always kept my faith, even as a homeless youth back in the day, living in group homes, all of that. Like, I've never lost my faith. And I think that having amazing leaders like yourself and practicing my 3 C's for community, that's kept me. I know I always quote the last one. People are like, I'm like, bet you weren't expecting that, were you?
Wow.
But also
Sorry,
one last thing too. No, I was just one other thing too is, and I say this as well. Nathaniel Hawthorne from Scarlet Letter. It's one of my favorite quotes. Says, Be true, be true, be true. Show freely to the world your worst. Let the worst trait be inferred. And I always add to that an addendum. I said, no, I'm not saying be your worst. I am saying be true, be you. To quote Oscar Wilde, be yourself. Everyone else on Twitter is already taken. He said that, right?
And I just want to say, not did you just take my heart all over again by quoting all these amazing people from Brené Brown to Oscar Wilde to everyone, but talking about faith and showing me that rosary, even that was amazing, because sometimes faith is all it takes to try all these different things and sail in different boats. And you're like, okay, how am I going to fish? And then you're like, it's not about just having a fish on your table, but how do you learn to fish and survive? There's a quote in Bible, right, which is about of this, like teach a man how to fish rather than giving him.
Yes, and there's a stage mom addendum. teach a woman how to fish, and she'll take care of everyone, and do it better. They said that in the Bible. They said that in the Bible. Maybe they didn't. Maybe it's like the newer Testament. Just kidding. Just kidding. Yes, I want to rewrite, y'all. I want to rewrite. But no, I think it's important, and I think that something I've really seen, is also I've seen from working with so many amazing customers. You talked about having an influence framework. Part of that is also thinking about creating that. We're thinking about your influence framework. It's part of a larger toolkit, right? As a leader, and part of that I've seen is also decision paralysis. You have to be able to make decisions quickly, try things out, and the naysayers, God bless them. God bless them. If you're using data, right, and sometimes you don't even have that data because it's a brand new program, always understanding what is measurable and what is the success criteria first and foremost, and how it's going to benefit. One of the things that I do when I'm thinking about building community programs from scratch is, partnering with customer success, identifying, some of those most engaged customers. And then, when I was building when we were building our Provar community program, the forum, our technical forum, which major shout out to Tara Walton, recovering automation developer turned technical community specialist. Not that anyone covers from those 2 a.m. regression tests, but shout out to her. One of the first things I did, even before I hired her, was I went and I was talking with these customers, and I created what I call the joy factor, because I believe that community programs should bring joy. So I create a Likert scale from 1 to 4. 4 brings me great joy, 1 brings me great distress. And I always ask them, on a scale of 1 to 4, and I qualify, I say, how important is it for you to have access to beta programs before GA? On a scale of 1 to 4, how is it important for you? How important is personal branding for you? Open source. So I'm asking those questions because that's data that I can bring back to the C-suite and the investors, right? And just let them know, hey, actually, maybe a small sample size, y'all, but it's enough for you to see.
That is like the jewel in the crown in this conversation. What you just said is amazing, because it not only, for instance, if I talk about volunteering, it should only bring me happiness, and I will do it only when I feel happy. It shouldn't bring me stress or more stress for what I'm already doing. So unless there's fun element, no matter which community is it would probably just collapse if there's no fun. So wow.
Correct. And put the human in it, right? Put the human in it, because there's so many people out there, then there's so many opportunities in community programs right now. And I can, share some of the resources, but there's this fear of, I'm always trying to recruit people from social work into community building programs. And the biggest thing I get is, oh, I'm not technical enough. I tell them, I'm like, listen, I don't code. It's mainly zeros and ones for me, mainly zeros, because it goes over my head. I hire people that do, and I bring other pieces too. And the thing that's really missing, my number one brand has always been, in addition to creating equity and inclusion when it comes to product innovation, software delivery, right? Giving everyone a virtual front row seat to the product table, whether you're a CTO to, a BA. I also think that it's really important to always empower the humans behind the solutions. So if your community doesn't have heart, it won't work for you. That's why the heart of our community, in addition to our product group, it's our Provar place. It's a place to be human. So you have to provide those opportunities, whether it's professional growth, whether it's memes, a gift channel in my previous community where introverts, can just share a gift and you know how they're feeling, and you need to check in with them because they look stressed out. Like you have to have the human behind it. Yes, the technical piece needs to be there, absolutely. But I would encourage anyone who's watching this recording to know that you can get into this field.
That is lovely. And it also reminded me of one special flair of yours, which is, I'm not sure if you do this for everybody, but maybe for your the people you love, where you take one-on-ones with us and just we can rant with you. That's the people, right?
You have to. I mentor a lot of people, and they're like, we need to get our community engagement up. We need to get our community engagement up. And I go, I love that for you. So I'm going to ask you, how many virtual coffees, like what KPI have you set for virtual coffees with your community members specifically? And they go, oh no, we can't. We're really busy. And I said, oh, well, your community is going to fail. Oh, sorry, goodbye. Like it just won't. You need the one-on-one. And while it's not scalable, not everything in building authentic, inclusive, and product-led community programs is going to be scalable. And that's the one thing that people getting into this field really need to understand is there is a human toll. And so, one person it's not one person's job to do community. It's really not, So if you're going to go into a product-led community, or if you're going to be doing dev-rel or whatnot, you always need to be working hand in hand with your product and customer success teams, and then support as well.
And I also feel since it's so much of a human part, you can't fake that, because the moment you fake it, people know. I mean, we think on the other side that people might not understand, and there are all sorts of people out there, but I think the moment you fake, the person on the other side definitely knows. So
correct.
This is so amazing, Tristan. My final question for you is, any advice to youngsters who want to get into community building or dev-rel roles? Because these are, again, some hot roles coming in the market these days, right? So dev-rel to community building, any advice?
Yeah, totally. And I would just say to anyone, whether you are 21 or 61, there is a place for you. And so I think that's the first thing I would say. The second is, there's often a focus on dev-rel and how that's different than community programs. I say, TLDR, it's people and relationships to scale that provide value for the business and, most importantly, your members. So call it dev-rel, call it community programs. To quote RuPaul, just call me. And so I would say my advice would be from a community building standpoint, because there are going to be some kind of different things. I would say for community building, I would check out ComSor. ComSor is a community analytics platform, but they built a community before their products went GA, and they have the C School. And the C School has tracks that you can check out that I really, really recommend. They have a mentorship program that I've been one of the original members in mentoring. They have an amazing online community forum that I'm obsessed with. So I would check them out. And you can all, who's watching this recording, you can always ping me and I can give you all that information. But I would really recommend checking out ComSor. I love them and all the community programs via the community club. I would also say they also just published the community engagement playbook that has a lot of great resources, the white paper, and I did something in there on product, which I really love. But that's a good place to start from there. I would say from a dev-rel standpoint, there's, Twitter is such an underrated learning tool. I'm obsessed with it. And if you talked to me that I would like Twitter 4 years ago, I would have said absolutely not. But, thanks to our Angie Jones, who absolutely we just adore and stand for, and is a personal friend, I would, she got me on Twitter. that's the footnote. I learned from her, you want to follow different diverse leaders, right? And she also did a great interview in GitHub that I would check out as well with GitHub about her journey in dev-rel and how she authentically leads. And that's, I think, a big testament to her work ethic, her creativity, her technical genius. I mean, this woman has like 27 something patents right now. Like, she's just Java queen. But now she's going into blockchain. She's just amazing. So I would say it's a long-winded way of saying there are specific leaders that you should be following and learning from that work for you. I love my Cassidy. She's just amazing. She was at Netify. I forget where she's going now. You know, I would say my Danny Thompson, like, it's a combination. Like for dev-rel, I really liked it for dev-rel. I don't like think of like a track. Devokit is one resource you could check out. Devokit, that one's got some great resources. Tessa Creel had founded it, so I guess that is a good training resource. But I would say for me, it's following authentic, pragmatic, and kind leaders who also have a sense of humor, because you have to have a sense of humor to be in this. Andy Knight is another great one, developer advocate at Apple Tools. He's an exceptional one to watch. So I would say y'all get on Twitter. Catalin Pitt is just absolutely incredible. Shout out to Catalin, I love. So more than happy to drop any of these into this recording. But I think for dev-rel, it's really interesting to see how people lead. You know, the community programs piece, that requires a different type of, I have more experience with that, right? Like I have a dev advocate equivalent that works under me. And so I've been helping giving him resources. I would say for developer advocacy, there is going to be even more requirements with marketing. And so, because whether it's creating, you know, helping with the abstracts for them, just like people say, oh, Tristan, I want someone more technical. I go, oh, that's fine. You can't write in complete sentences, but we all have our God-given gifts, don't we? So let's do this together. And, you know, I think that there is a place for everyone in the business to be able to support authentic, inclusive, and product-led community programs, whether it's being a community manager, to a director of community, to a VP of dev-rel. We need each other.
Wow. This talk is literally gold, and I'm so glad that you took your time out to do this. So thank you so much, Tristan. I know you've already answered 3 questions so brilliantly that you covered everything, and I can create a playbook myself if I wanted to. So I think others should make notes of this, because I definitely did. And in case there are any closing thoughts that you might want to say before starting off.
Yeah. I would say, you know, you need to be in the business of lifting others up. And I think sometimes when you do that, it gets hard to, you know, when people give you flowers, you know, compliments and they give you flowers, it's up to you to water them. And I think that's the one secret ingredient that people really need to, as being a community builder, they need to be able to accept those compliments. You know, we're always looking, when we achieve something, we're always looking for the next thing, check, next thing, check. And sometimes you need to pause. And I've learned this being a manager again, after, you know, 6 years, you know, as an IC, you know, going from social work to this, I learned that, you know, being a leader, you know, I need to model what that looks like. You know, I need to model what it's like to be able to accept a compliment, you know, those flowers, and water them. And I think it's important. And I would say one other thing, sorry. Yes. I also run a DevOps leadership book club with Niranjani, and it's just a great small group discussion. We actually just had Leandro around load testing projects, Senior Performer, if you're on Twitter. He's going to be speaking at Star East this month, but it was such a great discussion. And, you know, one of the books we had read, we've read over 16 books now. One of the books we read, it always stands out to me. I buy copies for anyone who'll listen. And it's Making Work Visible by Dominica de Grandes, exposing time theft and workflow. And she says, how can you manage your work if you can't see it? And there's some great stuff in there, whether you're a QA, developer, anyone. I take a lot of that back to community building. So if you're going into this, visibility, internal visibility, is so important. It really is. The hardest thing you're going to do in community programs is internal buy-in. So many leaders haven't worked with a professional community builder before. They don't understand the value. They don't know it yet. It's up to you to help inform them and take them with you and make them feel like they're building together. Ship your community programs in the same way you'd ship a feature from alpha, beta to GA.
Wow, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Tristan. I can definitely keep talking to you on and on, but I will.
My next call is going to be pissed though. Yeah.
I'll honor your time, and thank you so much for doing this for me. It really means a lot.
Thank you for also just being a light and lifting others up and being your brave, authentic self. Like, I just adore you so much, Rudy.
I don't know any other way.
That part. I absolutely adore you, and we're going to continue this, and I'm going to see you soon. We're going to catch up again. This was fun. Ta-ta for now.
Ta-ta.